It's episode 82 of the Improv London podcast. I'm your host, Stuart Moses, and this week's guest is John Paul Houghton.
Hello, Stuart. You alright?
Hello, John Paul. Is John Paul how I address you?
Yeah, I'm not fussed. So most people call me JP, which I just found because for some reason John Paul is a bit too confusing, but I'm used to being called whatever, so it's
right.
fine,
Okay,
honestly.
fair enough. Well, I will call you.
I know you're talking to me, right? So
Yes.
it's fine.
Yeah, no, that's a very important thing that you know that I'm addressing you and nobody else. I'm once again in the grounds of St Paul's. One of my very favourite places to record in Birmingham, and you may be able to hear the rustle of autumnal leaves. I didn't add that in post. That is way too much effort. How are you?
I'm alright. I've just come out of watching the Showstoppers kids show.
How was that?
That was good. So I've seen the Showstoppers before and think they're amazing for lots of reasons. And I went, oh, what will they do for the kids show? So it's interesting to see how, obviously they're still the same people and still the same performers, but how they modified the show to get the audience involved. So there was like a lot more ask fors. I mean, the one thing I wrote in my notes as I was watching it was everything that the kids say, because they only take offers from the kids in the audience, was a yes, and then repeating it word for word.
Wow.
Not a it doesn't really fit with the theme of the show.
Yeah.
And I mean, they know that's what they're signing up for. They
Yeah.
know they're going to have a bit of a crazy show.
Yeah.
But it was just really, I know it's really simple, but it's really nice to see that.
Yes.
So yeah.
Both the enthusiastic acceptance and then the repeating of it exactly and getting exactly what the kids have said.
Because I think that's a thing, right? So, and I'm aware, you know, when you're little. So if I think back to you asked what my name was. When I was 8 or 9, I really would have cared if you got my name right or not. But after a while, you just let go of that. But obviously, in the audience at Showstoppers, the kids, they will be upset if you say, "Oh, it's from Greenland," and they're like, "No, Iceland."
Yeah.
And for us, it's like, "Oh, whatever."
Yeah.
So we know what you mean.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
for them, that could be Daddy.
Yes.
They did it wrong. And that's your memory of the show. So, I mean, I'm making that up, but it was honouring the suggestion. It was really good.
Yeah, I think that's a really useful thing, both accepting the suggestion enthusiastically, even if you're not enthusiastic about it, and just getting the precision of, repeating back exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Great things to learn. And, kids notice everything, and they are a lot more discerning maybe than adults, and will also, tell you
They're an honest audience.
They're an honest audience, yes. Cool. I'm glad that was a good show.
No, it's good, and I'll be seeing them again later because they're doing their. It's not an adult show. They're burlesque special. They're doing 2 shows as part of the festival today, so
yes.
I'll see them both times.
I'm waiting to hear whether I've got a ticket for that because I left it too late.
Well, non-podcast business, I know somebody who's selling a ticket, so I might be able to connect you up.
Right. Okay. So we'll sort that out.
Shall we stop the tape here and quickly sort
No, let's finish the podcast first.
You'll be all right.
I'm torn. Okay, so you have a blog.
Yes, I run a blog called midlandsimprov.com, which I started about 2 years ago, and it does 2 things. So it lists all of the improv shows in the Midlands. So I'm in Birmingham, but there's improv going on in Nottingham and Leicester, and there's stuff in Coventry, and it's all around. So it's like, well, I'm probably not going to go to those shows, but why not? I'm interested, and I know people in them.
Yes.
So I'll take an interest. So there's that, and then the other thing I do is capture reviews of things. So I'm very aware that there's lots of people, and I'm sure everybody who's in improv knows this, and when you say improv, they either go
yeah,
or they go, oh yeah, whose line is it anyway?
Yes.
And it's like, well, there's a much bigger world than that.
Yes.
And so I just want to capture, like, here's what happens at an improv show. So my reviews are not trying to be intelligent, theatrical dissections of the brilliance of whatever. It's like, this is what happens in a show.
Yes.
That, this is what the performers are doing. this is what happened in the show I saw,
Yes.
and this is what was enjoyable about it.
Yeah.
And then my hope is that if somebody's thinking, oh, should we get to that thing tonight or not, and they do a quick Google or whatever, they find it and go, oh yeah, it might not be terrible. Let's go and see it. Because that's it. It's a genuine. It's very hard. If you're doing. So Showstoppers are fine. They've been working very hard for 10 years and they're brilliant. But if you're doing a show above a pub,
Yes.
or you've got 3 dates and a small fringe theatre, it's very hard to get the message out. So
Yes.
hopefully listings get the message out, and then the reviews say, and this is what it is.
Brilliant.
So that's what's behind it.
That's cool. And the address is?
MidlandsImprov.com.
Cool. So what has doing the blog taught you?
That's a really good question. What has doing the blog taught me? It's taught me that doing a blog is more effort than I thought it would be, even if you do very little.
Yes.
So without sucking up to you, to hear that you're on episode 82 of something, it's like, that's just... I know there's a load of work, and so I'm not doing a lot for this blog, right? It's just occasionally writing some stuff down. My reviews are short. The listings, I'm just looking at Facebook pages and Googling and whatever. And yet, just to consistently produce something,
Yes.
like it's not week in, week out, but like regularly say, a monthly listing has to be done at least once a month.
Yes.
You can't get around that.
That would seem,
you can't
that
have
would seem the bare minimum. Of
exactly. You can't go, well, I did 3 months last month, so I'll have this month off. And it's kind of a bit of a pain, but so what? So there's something around learning, not sticking with things, but even a small thing takes a lot of effort.
Yes.
So I've performed in lots of shows. I've promoted a few things, but not very much. It just makes you think, there's all this other stuff that goes on outside of the 60 minutes on stage. There's a whole world, and this podcast is an example. There's all sorts.
Yes.
What else have I learned from doing the blog? It's given me the excuse to go see people that I wouldn't normally.
Yeah.
Not because I don't want to, but it's like, that's on every month, I'll see it whenever.
Yeah.
But if it's like, I haven't written a review for them yet,
Yes.
so I'll try and go and see them. So it's actually made me a bit more connected to other improvisers
Yes.
In the area, because first of all, you've definitely seen their show, and then you know who they are.
Yes.
So if you do a workshop with them, or even after the show, you go, guys, that was great, I really liked blah blah. So it's probably connected me up a lot more with the other improvisers in and around Birmingham.
Yeah, and I found that doing the podcast. It's a strange world that we live in, where I feel more confident about approaching somebody and saying, can we have a chat about improv for an hour? Oh, and can I record it and share it on the internet?
Yeah.
Than I would be just saying, can we meet up and chat about improv? What world we live in today? How did we get to this state of affairs?
That adding the microphone and the recording in has made it easier? Is that what you're saying?
I was saying exactly that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is odd. But there's a wider thing for me behind what you say, Stuart, which is all around. When you know somebody else is an improviser, I'm suddenly much more chilled out about them. It's like, they'll be cool. Like, it's not a great space for dickheads. Like, they tend to get wheedled out.
Yes.
For various reasons. But it's like, so when you chat to somebody after a show, it's like, I'm sure this person's a really cool person. And they're just like, not far too open, but it's like, I'm far too trusting of them. Like, here's my firstborn child, look after them, I have to be somewhere. But that's nice, right? That's another thing you don't get in, if you like, real life.
Yes.
It's a bit awkward to talk to somebody.
Yes.
But if you just go, you're an improviser.
I did some IT training, and we didn't stand in a circle, and we didn't play bunny, or anything. We didn't share anything about our real lives.
Yeah.
Well, I did learn quite a lot about IT, but I was like, I'd forgotten that workshops outside the world of improv aren't the same as the ones inside.
Yeah. And there's it would be so hard. You need a great facilitator to introduce that into your next IT workshops and says, right, we're going to stand in as a 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Just tell me one true thing that happened to you yesterday.
Yeah.
People go, no, I'm going to shut this down.
I do teach web design, and occasionally I will do that.
What's your experience of this?
Especially if somebody has joined the course late, because I do kind of warm-ups in the first week. But if someone's joined late, I will just go around the room and ask everyone to share, one true thing that happened today, and stress that it won't have to be interesting or anything. Just, find out a bit about each other and their names. And one person went, I don't really see what this has to do with web design. And I'm like, well, nothing really, but it's just we're learning as a group, and then you've got to build group cohesion, because otherwise we might as well all learn on our own, anyway.
Wow. Yeah. Well, there's another thing, like you said, the group cohesion. I don't know. I was having a conversation years ago. You've reminded me of a conversation years ago from work where we were talking about teamwork. So the missive from us on high was sort of, we want more teamwork. And I was like, I've been in some amazing teams, and none of them have been in the workplace.
Yeah.
And they've all had that, like the genuine personal connection, not the, well, we'll do the one thing because somebody told us we've got to say the one true thing or whatever. And it's like, you want the teamwork, but you don't want to do the work to get there. Like you've got to do the like the we've talked about, like just take the offer, agree, support. You just want what you want is a better result with no effort. And a teamwork is you say, I'm going to support whatever that person has to say. I know I'm the boss, but what you're saying is the right thing. I'll back you up to the hill.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, you're never going to get it.
No, it takes a lot of effort. What are your top tips for building a good team?
My top tips? Wow, this has got very deep very quickly. So my experience has been that the supporting, encouraging side of things is the important bit of building a team.
Yeah.
So different people probably need different levels of... I'm sort of thinking of some of the workshops I've done where there's other people who are really doing that thing where they stand back and their eyes widen a bit, and you go like, oh, you're not cool here. You need a bit more time to be happy and chilled out. So it's like, raising them up and saying like, we're all here together.
Yeah,
it's fine. And that doesn't mean that you're necessarily all equal. You might still have a leader, or there still might be an agreed goal or plan or whatever else. But that idea that everybody's contribution is valid, which isn't, there are no bad ideas. So
oh yeah, but because patently there are bad ideas, but the having the freedom to express the bad ideas and celebrate failure is something we don't get as often in the workplaces where you really do improv.
Don't. I work as an actuary, so I solve technical problems, maths type problems in insurance, and our mindset our education and our experience is all around finding the problem, diagnosing it, coming up with a solution, and implementing it. So this is like lots of other technical jobs. It's not unique to what I do. And mostly what you're doing is negative. It's not depressing or sad, but it's like, let's rule stuff out.
Right. Yes.
Or will this solve it? No, because you haven't thought of this, this, and this.
Yes.
So you're chipping away. If there's a block of marble and the answer's in there somewhere, you're chipping off stuff that doesn't look like the answer until you find the answer. Whereas all of the improv world, in this metaphor that doesn't quite work, is the other way around, where you start with like a stalactite and it builds up slowly over time. You say, we've got nothing except this.
Yes.
How can we build on this? So like you say, even if you have well, that was a terrible suggestion for solving the problem, Stuart. However, what I liked about it was that you mentioned the internet, and the internet is definitely part of the solution. So let's focus on that. Which, again, another difference between work life and improv life, where if you're not going to have that open, positive mindset, you're not going to get the same types of solution or the same type of people participating, in my experience.
Yeah. You mentioned you use maths.
Yes.
So, are you bringing a maths sensibility to your improv?
Not explicitly.
Because some people, they seem to be like, I'm going to say a robot. I don't mean that in a judgmental way, but they seem to have a very sort of analytical way of improvising. They're very sort of logic-based.
I know what you're talking about. So the thing I carry around in my head, I don't know where I've got this from, is the Professor, Poet and Pirate thing. Yes. You know this?
Well, I only heard this last week when I was talking to John Galkin. Because I've heard Pirate, Robot, Ninja, which I think is pretty much the same sort of thing.
So yeah, it's the same idea, the cold analytical thinking bit versus the just creating chaos bit and going with your heart and something beautiful. So to try and answer your question of am I using the analytical thing, I think that's in my brain. I'm not going to throw it away. It's part of who I am. But I'm not trying to solve all the problems. I don't think that's my role in an improv scene or in a group to go, oh, yeah, I can see what they're doing wrong, I'll help, or whatever. And so I don't have that in my brain when I'm improvising. I'm really just trying to listen, and what is going on stage right now, just take that in, soak that up, and if they're really, do they need somebody in this scene? No, they're good, they're all right. Okay, keep listening, and it'll be fine.
Yeah,
I'm probably a bit more chilled out and not worrying about it than trying to. I don't know. I think I have no idea if this is true. The thought has just occurred to me. Another maths is right or wrong, right? So 2 + 2 hasn't got lots of wonderful options, but there's more than one way to do an improv scene. There's more than one way to accept an offer. There's more than one way to agree with your scene partner. So I don't see how being overly mathsy or analytical would help. It would still just be, here's what I think, here's my answer, not the answer.
Yes. So that's good. So when it comes to your 3 categories, poet, pirate, and professor, which if you had to use maths, as in percentages, on an average night when you're performing, where do you put your 100% between those 3 categories?
Let's go 20% pirate,
right,
and then an even split, so 40% each on the professor and poet. So still biased away from the chaos and the in this scene there are pigs that fly and eat monkeys for breakfast. It's like we've got enough of those in this scene. So I am sort of solving that problem of like, well, okay, let's accept that, and that's all we've got, right? There's nothing else crazy going to happen yet. I would like to be a bit more piratey, and I'm sure a problem I have is not being as piratey, or not feeling as free to do it when I'm with people who I think are less experienced. So there's a lot of layers in that. It's the stuff that's going on in my head, not stuff that's happening in the scene. Where it's like, oh, is this person okay? I won't weirdly say to them something that's going to throw them. I'll keep it easy or safe.
I think that's a sensible thing, because if you're with really experienced people, then you can afford to come in and do crazy stuff, and they can just fold it into the narrative or the story or whatever you're doing. But if you're with people who are less experienced, then don't be a pirate in those circumstances.
But well, I don't know. I never have, and I think maybe I should do it and have a bad experience and go, no, your judgment was right, JP. You should have just left that alone. But there's people I play with where it's not. I'm never worrying about holding it up, so it's not a general thing. But I'm aware in my head that I'm not very piratey.
Fair enough. Self-knowledge is a good thing. So how did you discover improv? Where did the spark get lit? What was it that drew you to the whole thing?
So I know, in some deep sense, I don't know the answer to this question.
Right, cool.
So if you'd have asked me 2 years ago, I would have said, oh, I decided one New Year, not that I make resolutions, but I need to get out of the house more, I need to do a thing, I need to meet new people. Oh, there's an improv course, that sounds kind of cool, I'll go do that. And I did that with John Trevor at the Blue Orange.
Cool.
However, long after doing that and then really getting into improv, I found a note that I'd written to myself like 6 months to a year earlier saying, do improv.
Really?
And I was like, wow, like I had that thought and then completely forgot it and then rediscovered it. And I think the only thing that can be connected to is a group in Birmingham called Houghton Unscripted.
Oh, yeah.
Who one of my friends is a friend of a member of that group.
Right.
And he was saying, oh, my friend Claire Caulfield is going to be on stage. You met her at this thing. We'll go. It's a social thing. It's I'll go. Why not? It's a thing. I didn't care. It's just like, it's a thing to do. Why not?
Yeah.
And then after seeing that, went to see Foghorn a few more times, and then just didn't, just sort of drifted away because you're busy. And it wasn't like it was like, I didn't grab onto it with both hands immediately. but something must have sat in my brain from that, because that was probably when I made the note.
Yes.
And then 6 months, a year later, whenever it was, got into it.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you're a member of the Knee Jerks?
Yes.
How did you get involved with them?
So John Trevor runs a drop-in in Birmingham every week, and after I'd been doing that for about a year or so, he happened to be putting on a couple of shows. So there's a monthly free show, but he was going to do I'm going to do paid shows where there's a bit more structure. There's a filter on who'll be on stage, and we'll rehearse together as a group to get that group mind going and everything else. So there will be rehearsals, and you will come, and then the performance happens, and you've got to be there, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was involved in one of those. We did a Valentine's Day show, and that went well and was fine and everything else. And then afterwards, somebody else who was in that show, Susie Evans, said, "Oh, that was really fun, that was really good, and we're kind of like a good little unit.
Yeah.
We should keep doing this."
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, so we met up and just sort of Noodle Debate at somebody's house, like infrequently, and then went, no, we really should keep doing this. So then it became a thing. And then after a little while of doing that, it's like, okay, well, if we're going to do this, we're going to have a show and try and drum up an audience and things like that. So it just evolved gradually out of doing the odd free show, then doing a structured show, and that getting us to a core group in the Knee Jerks.
Yeah.
And so there was no auditioning process or no, we'll have you in this month and kick out that person next month. It was just like, we'd got to know each other a bit as well, so we were friends as well. So
brilliant.
That's nice.
And you do long form?
Sort of. We have noodled about a lot over what form. So the goal don't know, around long formy stuff. But there's 8 people in the group in total, and the 8 people all come at improv from different angles, and there isn't a creative director who's saying it's my way or the highway. We're just negotiating it the whole time. And so we've never done a 60-minute show just straight through. We've tended to do things which are, or recently have been like, we'll do this for half an hour or maybe 40 minutes, and then we'll have a break, and then we might do a quick game and then do another thing for half an hour.
Right. Okay.
Occasionally bringing back some characters. It might be long form in the sense, we saw those characters 20 minutes ago and here they are again. But it's not we are doing the improvised Dickens show or the improvised Shakespeare or whatever, where there's a single narrative. So.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to choose between the two.
Exactly,
you know, and it's a lovely thing to have some short form games because guaranteed laughs, and also I'm less bored.
On the spectrum of this, for me, a good scene is a good scene, and narrative's great, but if it costs me a good scene, I'm not interested. And a game, you have somebody explaining what's happening at the top of the scene, but if it should be a good scene, like a good game. So last month, John Gelke, you mentioned earlier, he did a brilliant A to Z with somebody who can't remember, but it was like, that was a good scene. You were within the confines, and that helped you or made you think a different way. But so I don't care really whether it's short form or long form or whatever. A good scene's a good scene.
Well, the short form is a formula which helps you get to a good scene quickly.
Yeah, it's narrowing down. We found historically, if you do this, you often get a good result.
Yes.
So why would you not do it again?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. It's like in spreadsheets where you've got your functions.
You're sort of leaning into my area now. Yeah, go on.
That's pretty much as far as I was able to go, actually.
And it's cool. No, but Don, you were going to say you've got functions, you've got established functions.
Yeah.
So why would you create your own specialist weird function?
Well,
you could just use
it
what
might
Microsoft
work,
have built.
or use the sum function.
Yeah.
You'll get a good result every time.
Yeah.
So, what's your favourite short form game?
Wow. I'm going to say Pan Left, which don't know if that's a standard. There's a thing about improv. Everybody calls the same thing a different thing.
And that's come up with pretty much every episode I've done in Birmingham. Everyone's got their own names for things.
I am describing a game where there are 4 performers on stage, each the corner of a square, and then they'll do the front 2. Out to the audience will be doing a scene. Somebody will cry, pan left, and then all the members on stage, all 4, will rotate through 90 degrees. The 2 people at the front are now doing a different scene. And you keep panning left, then pan right. Wow. And what I like about it is it has good scenes in, or it can have good scenes in. There's a nice thing where the scenes start to bleed together. If everybody's listening to everybody else, they start overlapping. And you find out that people still don't know the difference between left and right in their 40s.
But that's hilarious.
It is. And every month the audience will love it because somebody will genuinely, they're not thinking this is an easy gag, I'll pretend. They're doing the scene, they go, and they go, oh. So it's got it all. It's got it all.
Oh, that is a very fun game.
Do you have a favourite?
Oh, it's always hard when people...
What's your favourite in this moment? I'm not going to hold you to it forever.
Oh, what do I get really excited about? I like New Choice.
Okay, New Choice.
I like... That was very good. You got me there.
Great game.
Yeah, I just like the unexpected places that it takes you to, and the fact that you can't plan, and I really...
Another one that has genuine moments where the audience can see the person who's on stage doesn't know what's going to come out of their mouth next.
Yeah.
And you have those moments of joy where it's something brilliant.
Yeah.
So,
where you just surprise yourself.
Yeah.
As well as the audience. It's a delightful thing. When you're doing long form, how can somebody on stage with you delight you? What can they do to delight you if you're playing a scene? What sort of situations do you like being in? What sort of scenarios? What sort of moods?
So the big thing that I know I want is relationships and connection.
Right. Yes.
I would happily watch or be in 100 scenes that were about a relationship than the funniest transaction scene is funny, but it's gone. You know, when it's gone, it's gone. Yeah. Whereas that's the thing that keeps me coming back.
Right.
And within that, especially, if somebody brings some genuine emotion, that's the thing that would delight and amaze me, because it's so hard to do for lots of reasons. First of all, because it's just, emotions are weird, right? And troubling and and worth suppressing at all times.
I think particularly in this country, I think you'll find that both those things are true. If you're in the mainland Europe, perhaps not so much.
Yeah, indeed. But that's the thing. So there's that. There's then representing it to your scene partner and to the audience.
Yeah.
Like the audience being there and watching you is making that harder. It's in your brain somewhere, but if you can still access it, and then it's like. So I saw Heather and Jules do 10,000 Million Love Stories again as part of the festival, and there were a couple of moments. The one I'm thinking of really is when Heather was dumping Jules, and she just looked a bit, she had the face of somebody that is dumping somebody, and that's not a cliche. It's a thing I haven't got the words for.
Right. Yeah.
But it was like, oh yeah, she's inhabiting this, she's there, so it's like that's the stuff. That's really good.
Yeah.
But it's really hard. Oh, the other thing that makes it hard, of course, is most of us on stage are not wonderful classically trained actors. We're sort of giving it a go.
Yeah. No, I often think about, I wish I'd trained as an actor, because I'm sure there's loads of stuff that you could then bring into improv and it would just be like better.
Yeah, massively.
But then there's a dichotomy there, because some people who are classically trained give a great performance when they're improvising, but it is a performance. And at the other end of the scale, you've got the people who are just honest and real and vulnerable and tell the truth. And I wouldn't want to lose that, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, well, you don't have to choose. That's the wonderful thing, right?
Do you not have to choose?
No, I mean like in life.
I see.
Like somebody will be the beautifully, honestly, truthfully, they're them on stage in that moment.
Yeah.
And somebody else will just say, I've got this. I'm going to make this deep and amazing and rich, but it's a performance.
Yes.
So again, go back to Showstoppers. Like they're doing, sort of a Broadway West End style musical theatre. That I want them to do a performance.
Yes.
If they're not standing legs astride, waving their arms around and commanding the stage, they're missing. That's not what they're selling, right? So that's a performance, and good. But I'm just saying, as an audience member, I don't have to choose. I can get all of it. For me, as a person, I'm not going to make it as an actor. I've accepted that now. But so the only option I've got is to try and be open and honest and try and do it without it becoming some kind of weird therapy.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you need to not do that.
Oh, you think?
I think you should be. You should use
emotions
therapy.
to be repressed. Remember that conversation,
Well,
Stuart?
I do remember that. Yes. Improv is therapy. It's not counselling, but it can be therapy.
Yeah, okay.
Well, where else in public are you able to express your emotions than on stage in front of an audience? And that's messed up. I realise that.
I massively agree that that's incredibly weird. And again, going back to work, the idea that at work we only want people... The convention is that we don't want people to be themselves so much as a professional version of themselves.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm cool with that if you're presenting to the board on the £40 million purchase, right? But if we're just here, let's just be ourselves. And as long as you're not being insanely offensive or like ridiculously impolite, you know what, just be you and it's cool. And if I annoy you, say, throw something. It's fine. I'd be cool with that, but this is what civilization is, the process of smoothing the edges off and just keeping things running.
Keeping all things running.
But you're right, it is weird that. I mean, I always say there's a deeper thing. There's always stuff behind it. You're right. The convention in society is the place we want to see emotions is over there on stage. Like the audience are in a roller coaster. And it's like you're doing your emotions. That's cool. I can now There's a thing about watching. So if you're in the audience and somebody on stage is sad or angry or whatever, you get to look and watch it it'll never bounce back on you. Like you've not got to sort it out. You've not got to worry about it turning on you. It's just like, that's an angry person. Look at the angry person be angry. And that's really you can connect with that. You can, which sounds very highfalutin and fancy and everything else.
That's very much the tone of this podcast.
Oh, is it? Oh, in that case, I stand by it.
Yeah, you are right, because you're able to experience, seeing someone with that emotion. But as you say, you don't have to deal with it.
It's great. It's like somebody. We'll go back to what I said I liked, right? So if you started crying now, Stuart, this would be incredibly awkward. We'd stop the tape. Don't make those eyes, Stuart.
My big sad eyes.
Is that a tear in your... Don't, Stuart, I'm going to have to stop the tape. I don't want to deal with this. Right, but if you're doing it on stage... But if you're on stage and I'm not with you, like I don't have to think about sorting the scene out. I'm just watching. I go like, oh, I could just have that. And you hear audiences say it. They just go, oh. And they just go, oh. Like, that's it. And that, I think that's what the audience... It's definitely what I think the knee-jerks audience wants, because that's what we're trying to give them. And if they don't want that, then, and we do what we want, they're just going to be disappointed. We're not doing laugh a minute. The comedy just comes. Life is funny. You don't have to try. What is hard is forming some kind of connection on stage with your partner and not blocking the hell out of them or denying them or arguing with them. Just going, it's cool. Let's just do our thing.
Yes.
That's the hard thing. And after years and years of practicing, I'm still not very good at it. So.
It's interesting you mentioned the audience and their reaction to things. How aware of the audience are you when you're performing? Because some people are very much go into this whole imaginative, world, and they can only see the scene they're in. Some people are a bit more present on stage. Where do you fit on that?
I'm much closer to the first end of that spectrum. If I'm in a scene, I'm not very aware of what the audience are doing. To the extent that if they laugh at something, that might register, and then I'll go, what did I do? And part of my brain's going like, it'd be really good if you knew what you did, because you could do it again or play with it. So the audience is there. and I know they're there.
Yeah.
But so much of my brain space is spent dealing with you on stage that I haven't got a lot of space for them. I mean, in real life, I'm not very observant. I'm not very aware of my surroundings. I'm going to the shops, tunnel vision, that's where I'm going. And if somebody's on the other side of the street that I know, whatever, I've passed the bar, unless they come and shake me, I've missed them. So it's fairly similar on stage. I mean, I care about them. I want the audience to be involved.
Yeah. And
if they're not part of it, we've missed an opportunity.
But would you be aware if the audience wasn't involved while you're performing?
Probably not, if I'm really honest. Yeah. So I don't think I've got enough experience, like it's nothing to do with improv, just of knowing about what audiences are like.
Yeah.
So I was having a similar conversation to this a few months ago with Rebecca at the Maydays, and she was saying, like, you can have somebody sat in the front of the audience with a face as miserable as sin.
Yes.
And then afterwards they come to you and go, oh, that was wonderful. And you go like, but you didn't, you were just staring at us. And it's like, I was so interested. Yeah. Like, you're not aware what you're sending out in the audience.
Or it may be that they're an improviser and they're just watching you really closely because they're delighted to see all this technique and they're trying to break it down and work out how it all works and that sort of thing.
So even if I was paying more attention to the audience, I would still ignore that signal because I wouldn't know what was noise that I can't read properly and what's the genuine thing. So I would know, when you hit the interval or whatever, the way people get out of their seats, if it's like a cemetery, if people just shuffle out with their coats in their hands, well, we lost them somewhere. And I think afterwards when people talk about it, so there's other people in the knee jerks who've got a lot more theatre experience, like theatre directors and running their own theatre and everything else, and they'll go, we lost them around the 25-minute mark. That's when people were getting a bit anxious and whatever else. And I'm like, oh, good to know. Yeah. Okay, I can kind of remember what was going on around then. Okay, all right. Yeah. But I'm massively focused on, if the people on stage are connected and having a good time, the audience stuff will sort itself out.
Yes.
So
yeah, well, that sounds a sensible approach. What would you say is your signature move on stage? What is it that when you do, they go, classic Houghton, so today again, by doing his signature move?
So physically, I didn't know this. I've been doing this for years and not knowing. I'll drop to one knee or sit down, which I would like to pretend is to getting a good stage picture or introducing some visual variety, but it's just where I go. It's just a thing that I do.
I'm a big fan of the sit down, but then I'm not a young man, you see. So
takes a bit of time.
I find the sitting down is much more sustainable for a show than standing up.
Okay, but that's got some thought behind it. Mine's an instinctive. I don't know. For whatever reason. Yeah. It's just like, I'll sit down. Well, I'm not even thinking. It's not even that process. It's just I'll go. Oh, everybody's much taller than me all of a sudden. And I didn't know this until it was called out to me by my girlfriend. And then
stop sitting down. Well, she called it out to you during the show.
Suggestion for the next thing, just
stand up.
Yeah. And then she said, "Oh, you do that thing," and I was like, "No, I don't." And then I was watching myself, and like every show after that for like 4 months, I was like, "Yeah, I do that. That's the thing I do." The other thing I do, which it's not quite classic Houghton, but it's like, the longer the show goes on, the closer the characters come to me. And I don't mean revealing a deep inner truth. It's more like, oh, the improv muscle's getting tired or something, and my characters are just more... It's JP on stage now, rather than the Grand Vizier of the Arabian Court. So if I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that in the first half of the show. Yeah. Not consciously.
Yeah.
And it'll be later in the show. And I'll just be like, oh, we need to start... And, you're trying to do 10 things at once when you're improvising. And the ball I'll drop when I'm tired is the strong character work. So I'm always trying to do better, stronger, clearer characters, because I know that's the thing that I don't do. I drop. So neither of those are particularly wonderful things to have.
But it's interesting. It's interesting that you were doing them and not realising them, and then someone points it out, and you go, oh yeah,
But we all do this, right? And the go back to improv as therapy. you have all these habits. So when you start with brand new improvisers, when they come in, they're going to block the hell out of everything, and that's fine. You're going to say have an emotion, and they're going to be hungry. And you go, like,
I don't think technically it's an emotion.
There's no technically about it. It's not an emotion. It's fine. But it's like there's you in your normal life, there's things you're allowed to demonstrate and allowed to inhabit,
Yes.
and then within your head, there's stuff that you think it's okay to do and inhabit. And so when somebody else like, we need a suggestion, or not from the audience, I mean from each other. Like, what are we going to do? It's like everybody has a huge tendency. It's a bit strong. All improvisers everywhere. It takes a hell of a long time to get to the stage, Stuart, where you're really free of all the stuff you bring with you from your normal life. So if you're having a bad day, that will be in there somewhere, or the direct opposite of it will be, because you're trying to get away from it, rather than just here's all the things that can happen. It could be anything. And it would be wonderful to be able to have that control and knowledge and not be so limited in the emotional spaces that you play.
Yes.
So again, I'm now thinking of Danielle, who's in our group, who's got a very strong theatre background. It's like, oh yeah, we'll do. There's loads of stuff we do all the time, so we're mega comfortable there. Do we flirt with each other very much? No, that happens a lot in the real world. If we do a romantic relationship, it's either the early, like we've established that it's our second date, right? Because we've got enough of a relationship that it's cool, but it's not like we've had to do the weird, the awkward approachy bit.
Right,
or we've been married 25 years, and we're past all that. So all of that stuff that each person at some point in their lives, to a greater or lesser extent, has had go on inside them or has exhibited as a behaviour. Like, you might be terrible at flirting, but I'm sure you did it once.
Yes.
It's like, how often do we bring that on stage? As knee-jerks, not that often.
Yeah.
And that's okay, that's who we are. We're not trying to be something different. It's like, but that's a nice club to have in the bag, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
So,
Cool. Right. I think that's nearly everything. Is there anything else we haven't talked about you'd like to talk about? Do you have a list?
No, I was just... I scribbled down blog, which we mentioned, knee-jerks, which we talked about, in the Midlands improv scene. I think...
Yes.
I suppose...
Talk to me about the Midlands improv scene. That's a good, precise question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. That'll be good.
It's doing well, thanks.
Brilliant,
Sure.
excellent.
End of podcast. No, it's really good. So the festival is obviously a big thing, and this year, every weeknight, there's been 2 local acts, as if you like, as warm up from the act that's come from as far away as London.
Wow, it's a long way away.
So, and just being able to go, wow, we've got plenty of teams that can field, you can put on stage, they can do a show, and you haven't got to worry about it. It's not like, they're going to sink or swim here. It's it's fine. They're running their own show. They can easily do half an hour or an hour here. That's great, because when I started, which is only 3.5-4 years ago, I was only aware of 2 groups in Birmingham. There might be something else bubbling underground that has died before I got awareness. And one thing may be happening in Nottingham. And now there's a solid roster. All the old players are still there, and there's new stuff coming through all the time, and lots of people interested in workshops, and it feels like it's a really cool and exciting time in the Midlands for improv. And you would have a better view than me, Stuart, of what it's like elsewhere. Is that
I can only speak for London, but it seems to be growing at a phenomenal rate. So much so that I think we should discourage new people from getting involved, because I feel they're competition.
Okay, you're worried about that. So I agree, they're competition.
And they're younger and they're keener and, hungrier for it. They want it more than I do. All I want to do is sit down on stage. That's all I want.
You just need to...
Or lie down.
Be like Armando Diaz. Get a format named after you. And then you can do that. The Moses is you sit on stage and you get a microphone and you say, these are true life stories, and then that's it. It's amazing. It's such a deep and rich format that supports everybody.
Yeah, I hope that catches on now.
Okay, I'll give you that idea. I'll take no credit for that.
Yeah, definitely. Exciting times. There's more happening. More people are getting involved, and it's a really exciting time to be involved.
Because I mean, occasionally I'll go down to London for improv, either for workshops and then make sure I see something in the evening, or if I'm there for work, hang around or whatever. But from outside London, I've got no view, because every time it's not like I'm regularly in the loop and I know, last Tuesday of the month is so and so, or every Monday it's there. It's just like, what's on when I happen to be there? That fine.
Every night of the week you can do something.
That's a lot, isn't it? That's plenty.
You can there's either jams or shows, workshops. Yeah, you could do it every night.
Wow. Well, we're not quite at that stage in Birmingham and Nottingham and Leicester yet, but it's
growing all the time, and that's a great thing.
Yeah, there's already too much for me, right? So I foolishly volunteered to be in another group, and I said at the time, I don't think I've got time for this. And it's like, I've missed 2 weeks in a row now. I don't think I have got time for this. But that's my problem. But there's more enough improv for me, so I'm happy.
Cool. Do you want to tell me about this other group that you have?
It's called Off Broad Street.
Ah, yes.
You may know something about this.
Yes, Off Broad Street has been the name that has come up most often.
Ah, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, well, it's exciting, right? So there's not there's musical short form game stuff happening, but the idea of saying, no, let's commit to musical improv as a thing, that's new for Birmingham, and very much off the back of Lloydie's success in Nottingham, who've got a sellout show this weekend.
Yeah.
A Halloween themed show. So it's like, that's like, hang on, if Lloydie's lot can do it, surely we can rustle together something. And they're well ahead on the curve, and they've got Lloydie with them, which helps a hell of a lot as well. But it's like, it's been enough of an impetus to get something started here, and we'll see.
Cool. So final question. What do you want for yourself in the future from an improv point of view? What would you like to get really good at? What would you like to do more of? Where do you want? It's a bit like, where do you want to see yourself in 5 years?
Oh, right, okay. In 5 years' time, I would like. So my want is very small and selfish. I just want every scene to be at least good.
I think that sounds like a decent. Yeah, that sounds like an achievable.
Yeah, it's. I don't have goals about. And good by my standard, right? Not by anybody else's. Like, as long as I feel like, do you know what, that was a good scene. Because I think most people are self-aware to know enough. Like, that was a bit icky. We got away with it. Like, the audience bought it, but we were not on the same page there. I mean, I don't have any fear walking into a scene with anybody. It's not like this could go wrong and it would be bad. It's more like, it's just nice if every scene goes well.
Yes.
Like, you're never going to get it. You're never going to be consistently, or I'm never going to be consistently amazing. That's fine. But if my bottom point could be, that was all right. And that to get there would take a huge amount of work and time. And I'll give it a go.
Cool, excellent. Well, I will speak to you in 2022. We'll see whether you've achieved that goal.
All right, I'll be here. Still in Birmingham.
I'll meet you here by St Paul's Church, 2022.
Okay.
I know I have to do that. Anyway, thank you very much. That's been very enjoyable.
Thank
you very much. Cheers.
Right, bye-bye.
Bye.
I made this.
That's improv!